Okay, let's jump into the deep dive. We've got quite a stack of documents here, excerpts from a Galactic Federation Naval Officer's Manual, plus a bunch of supplements. It's a real mixed bag, you know? Official policy mixed with, well, some much stranger stuff.
Yeah, it really gives us a window into this specific future, doesn't it? A universe run by this Galactic Federation. Our mission really is to cut through all the jargon, the rules, and try to figure out what life, travel, maybe even the dangers might be like for someone actually serving in their Navy. And we're using only what's in these pages.
Exactly. We're going to try and unpack these sources, pull out the most important bits, the surprising facts, maybe even the really bizarre details, just to build a picture of this future galaxy.
So let's start at the very beginning, which, based on these documents, is actually surprisingly close to our own time.
It really is. The whole origin story for humanity getting to the stars, in this universe anyway, it traces back to Earth, 1995. That's apparently when our, well, primitive radio receivers started picking up signals.
Right, signals from somewhere near the galactic center. And clearly intelligent. They were picked up for a full 30 years, stopping suddenly in 2024.
And the manual mentions the mystery there. You know, why did they stop? Was it an accident? Did the senders just leave? Or maybe they're waiting for something. The search is still ongoing, centuries later, according to this.
What's really fascinating, though, is that even though the signals weren't complete, parts were garbled, maybe because of sunspots. Back then they apparently contained everything. The manual is super clear. All subsequent scientific advances, like across the board, were based on info pulled from those old signals.
Wow. So our entire future civilization basically got a cosmic data dump, and that's what launched everything.
Pretty much, yeah. And that data dump led to the key breakthroughs for actually getting between the stars. Developed pretty recently, too, only in the last 40 years, from the manual's perspective. Two big technologies jump out, activated xenon and the magnetic recoil reaction drive.
Activated xenon, the manual calls it the efficient storage battery. Sounds simple enough.
It's a great description, actually. They figured out how to put xenon gas nuclei into this sort of quasi-stable excited state. Holds up to 10 times the mass energy of a normal nucleus. And you can tap it electromagnetically or even pump energy back in. A fully charged ship might have up to 50% of its total mass energy just stored like this. It's an incredible power source.
Okay, right. So you've got the power, but how do you actually move? Because traditional rockets, the manual points out, they're kind of useless for interstellar travel, aren't they? Too much energy wasted just pushing stuff out the back.
Exactly. And that's where the magnetic recoil reaction drive, the warp engine, basically comes in. It changes the game. It solves that whole pushing against problem by interacting with the galactic electromagnetic field itself. Apparently, a relook at some poorly translated bit of the original signals showed the galaxy is just, well, full of these incredibly powerful structured fields.
Ah, okay. So instead of carrying propellant, you're using the galaxy's own structure as your pushing surface.
Precisely. And the physics they got from the signals let them do that. What's really brilliant is the efficiency. It apparently recovers 99% of the energy it uses to speed up when the ship slows down. But I mean, without that immense power density from the activated xenon, this drive just wouldn't be practical. They really need each other.
Okay, so they've got this amazing tech all built on these mysterious alien signals. How fast does it actually let them go? And what's life like on these ships, you know, on the long haul?
Well, travel isn't instant. The manual gives a typical speed, sort of observed from outside, at around 87% of light speed.
Okay, so not faster than light then. What does that mean for, like, travel times between stars?
Yeah, distance is still a really big deal. To cover, say, 10 light years, it takes about 11.5 standard Earth years.
Whoa, that's a serious deployment.
It is, but here's the really interesting bit. Because of relativistic time dilation, only about half that time actually passes on the ship, so that 11.5-year trip feels more like 6 years to the crew. Still, 6 years is a long time to be out there.
How do they even manage that? Are people just, like, hanging out on the bridge playing cards for 6 years straight?
No, thankfully not. The manual mentions they use hibernation chambers extensively. Most of the crew are just asleep during the interstellar parts of the journey. It saves on life support, obviously, but crucially, it keeps people sane, you know, and aging is minimal while you're under.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So you basically sign up for a multi-year nap, but even with that, there are still limits.
Yeah, the manual notes that the current starships, they're limited to a range of only several hundred light years. The reasons given are things like maintenance and personnel problems. It kind of implies the ships or maybe the crews just can't handle longer missions without serious breakdowns or failures.
And this limitation, it really brings us back to that original mystery, doesn't it? The source of the signals.
It absolutely does. The speed of light barrier, which they figured out almost 700 years ago in this timeline, is still unbroken. So the place those signals actually came from, it's still way beyond the Federation's reach. They're kind of stuck, for now, in this bubble of space they can actually get to.
So you spend years asleep in the void, stuck within this relatively small corner of the galaxy. What's waiting for you when you finally wake up at your destination?
Well, the Planet Guide section gives us a little peek into the places inside that bubble, and it's a diverse collection, sometimes a bit unsettling.
Okay, so tell us about some of the highlights. What kind of worlds are we talking about?
Well, there's Altair the One. Sounds pretty nice on paper. Temperate, breathable air, forests, no native sentience. Seems like a good spot for some R&R.
Uh-oh, I sense a butt coming.
But yeah, you got to read the update. A warning from early 2582 about suspected pirate activity in the system. So maybe that nice, peaceful shore leave isn't quite so peaceful after all.
Right. Okay, noted. What else?
Then you've got Tal Ceti III, another planet with breathable air. Jungle this time. But unlike Altair the Fourth, there's a huge, bold restriction notice on landing there.
Restricted? Why?
Restricted to emergencies only. And the reason is pretty specific. Apparently due to interference with the native sentient species by missionaries from the Universal Galactic Faith Church. What's interesting is the timing this restriction was put in place back in 2576. The manual itself is updated in 2582. So the problem was bad enough, or went on long enough, that it had to be included years later in the official handbook.
Huh. So even with what sounds like a strict non-interference policy, some groups are clearly causing trouble. And Tal Ceti III has natives, like intelligent ones.
Oh yeah, two native sentient species actually, and their enemies. You've got the Tal Ceti lizard and the Tal Ceti arachnoid. The lizard is pretty big, about 3 meters. Intelligence rated around like Earth's old cetaceans, whales, and dolphins. And their natural enemy is the arachnoid.
Arachnoid. Don't like the sound of that. Giant spider thing.
Sort of, but weirder. It's described as a symbiotic organism, like 9 creatures making up one being, 8 body parts, each with its own organs and brain, all linked up by a neural net. And the 9th creature is a quasi-living web.
A quasi-living web. What on earth does that mean?
Yeah, it's coated in the stickiest organic chemical they know of, apparently. It can move, and it actively tries to trap things. The manual notes a mystery here, too.
Yeah.
They don't get how the arachnoid controls the web, and if the arachnoid dies, the web just dies too. Its intelligence is rated slightly below the lizard's.
Okay, that's creepy. And the lizard somehow manages to deal with this super sticky, potentially mobile web.
Apparently. The manual specifically says the lizard has a unique way to get around the web. Must be absolutely vital for them to survive there, you'd think.
Wild. Any other really strange, notable planets in this guide?
Epsilon Eridani V is mentioned. It's a desert world, poisonous atmosphere, really violent sandstorms, makes mapping tough. Another mystery here, initial surveys found these weird tracks suggesting life, but despite looking, they've never actually found any creatures making them.
Tracks, but no track makers. That feels ominous. Maybe dangerous.
Could be. And finally, there's Rigel X. This one's frozen solid. Thin, cold, unbreathable atmosphere. It's mostly famous for the Hawking ice field, supposed to be the biggest glacier in known space, and it's largely unexplored just because it's so incredibly vast.
Okay, so you're traveling for years, maybe mostly asleep, you're stuck within a few hundred light years, and when you arrive, you might face pirates, missionaries messing with alien ecosystems, giant symbiotic spiderweb things, mystery tracks, or just endless unexplored ice. What kind of rules govern all this, and what else do these other documents tell us about Federation life?
Well, that policy on interfering with native sentient species from Book 1, that's clearly a huge deal. We saw it directly with Tal Ceti III.
And it's not just a friendly suggestion, is it? Sounds pretty serious.
Oh, absolutely not. It's a strict, immediate ban. No talking, no trading, no showing off tech. Basically, don't do anything that could mess with how sentient life develops on non-Federation planets.
All right.
And the penalty is harsh. Up to 20 years hard labor, a 20,000 credit fine, or, both. And you are required to report violations if you see them.
Required to report. Wow. And the policy has no expiration. They clearly see this as fundamental, even if, like with Tal Ceti, it doesn't always seem to be followed perfectly.
Exactly. What these other documents add, though, is more a sense of the people, the tech, maybe the darker side of this Federation. Like, take the Diary of Klaatu in Book 2.
Right. This one's quite sad, isn't it? It's the last entry from the last survivor of a whole race.
Yeah, their planet was dying, sun dimming, air thinning out. Their scientists saw it coming. They knew they could have emigrated, built orbital habitats, survived. but they didn't.
They chose comfort instead, right, served by their robots. Klaatu writes about how they had the good life and just didn't want to give it up until it was way too late.
Exactly. And Klaatu's final words are this really stark warning. Beware of your robots. Fear not to sacrifice them at need. It's a chilling thought about choosing convenience over survival and the potential price.
Okay, heavy stuff. What about something maybe a bit more human? Although maybe eccentric human.
Ah, well then you have Sir Reginald Farquhar Drake's My Travels in the Wild from Book 3. This is something else. It gives you a glimpse into the kind of, well, characters you might find out there,
Yeah.
far away from strict naval rules.
Sir Reginald, the self-proclaimed picture of manliness and good breeding, and he decides to explore the Hawking ice field on Rigel X, that huge unexplored glacier, with his poor caddy Godfrey.
He brings the bare minimum equipment, naturally, which includes multiple weapons, a portable toilet, a portable 3D viewer, gourmet dinners, all loaded onto a sled that Godfrey has to pull, while Sir Reginald bravely faces the elements, riding in the open air on skis behind him.
This is where it gets just completely absurd, though. They get attacked by snow beasts.
A whole pack of them. Sir Reginald tries to shoot the leader, but his fancy xenon rifle doesn't fire. He then realizes Godfrey had been too busy sporting with snow beasts to remind him to flick the safety off.
And instead of, dealing with the terrifying monsters trying to eat them, Sir Reginald pulls out Godfrey's record book right then and there to note down his dereliction of duty, while Godfrey is presumably still fighting for his life.
He then stages an orderly withdrawal, marching back to the yacht while Godfrey, as Drake puts it, dragged his feet a bit. And the final insult. Godfrey left all Sir Reginald's valuable kit back on the glacier.
And the punishment for Godfrey. Another black mark in his book and his pay dock to cover the lost gear. I mean, it's hilarious, but also kind of dark, isn't it? Shows a certain type of entitlement and completely skewed priorities when faced with actual danger. Suggests maybe rules and common sense aren't applied equally to everyone.
Absolutely, a world away from the strict impersonal policies. Okay, shifting gears a bit, Book 4, the Code Galactica. This sounds like the legal bedrock of the Federation.
Yeah, mostly pretty dry stuff, tax codes, standard criminal laws. But there's one section that's unique, apparently only found in this copy, and parts of it are garbled.
The penalty for mutiny in high space.
Yeah.
And it is incredibly severe. They basically put you in a recycling spacesuit and just eject you into interstellar space. That's it. No pardon, no retrial.
No hope of pardon, it says. Feels pretty final.
Unless, and this is the really bizarre part, the convicted mutineer is somehow guided by the hand of the creator to find his way back to his planet of origin with indisputable proof of innocence. Which is, an effectively impossible condition, right? Tacked on to this otherwise brutal final punishment.
It's such a strange mix, isn't it? Severe, pragmatic punishment and then divine intervention as a legal escape clause. Weird. This book also mentions a GBI fugitive list Galactic Bureau of Investigation, presumably. Names like Robespierre, Draconis, wanted for piracy, slavery. But the real standout is Book 5, just titled X.
Yeah, described simply as the most dangerous criminal the galaxy has ever known. And the manual gives no picture, no real name, just X.
The origin story is, well, it's something. 1,000 years ago on Epsilon and D II, some scientist working on organ regeneration accidentally gives himself a massive overdose of the serum he was developing.
And instead of just, maybe regenerating a cut finger faster, he discovers he can just wish his beard away.
Yeah.
He realizes the serum gave him complete control over his physical form. He can change his appearance, height, age, sex, fingerprints, grow new limbs, even change species entirely. And the regeneration makes him effectively immortal.
Okay, that's a lot of power. And his motivation for causing galactic mayhem.
He got fired for missing a deadline to file a grant renewal form.
You're kidding, that's it.
That's what the document claims. He swore revenge. And his method is insidious. Infiltrate positions of authority by murdering a superior while disguised as one of that superior's rivals.
Yeah.
Basically causing chaos and destruction from the inside.
Turning military bases against civilians, destroying planets. The scale is nuts. Over 300 major cities, 5 whole planets destroyed, including his own home world. 1,000 years of vengeance over a mist form.
But they finally figured out a potential weakness, right? A way to maybe identify him.
Yeah, from some old notes found in his lab. It's a simple chemical test. Touch some region to any uncovered flesh. And if it's X, it turns from blue to red.
And the manual gives a really chilling instruction about that test. It says, do not warn the suspect prior to performing the test and have force field restraints or stun weapons immediately available. The implication is crystal clear they can change shape instantly, so you have to ID them first, then restrain them without giving any warning at all.
Okay, so we've got strict rules, absurd characters running around, brutal laws, immortal, shape-shifting super criminals. What about just keeping the ship running, the actual nuts and bolts of the technology?
Right, the Star Driver Repair Manual, Book 6. It gives a brief glimpse into how complex things are. Pages of binary codes, detailed steps needing spacewalks, EVA, instructions to replace specific microcircuits. Sounds like standard, future tech repair work.
But there's one step in there that is just profoundly worrying.
Ah, yes. Step 3. It involves pushing the blast-off button in the command module. Why? To check if the ion boost exhaust is blocked.
And if it is blocked?
The ship explodes. The manual's helpful instruction is, if the ship explodes, there was something blocking the ion boost exhaust, clear the tube and go back to step 1.
That's one way to diagnose a problem, I guess. Definitive, if inconvenient.
And there's that casual warning tacked on, too. Taking care not to push the magnetic reversal switch. We have no clue what that switch does, but the manual's very clear. Absolutely do not push it while you're potentially about to blow up the ship checking the exhaust.
Right. Good tip. Add that to the list of things to worry about in space. Pirates, spiders, exploding during routine maintenance. What about those robots? Klaatu warned us about them earlier.
Yeah, Book 7 is the Robot Mark 9 User's Manual. It reads just like, modern marketing fluff. It's the perfect servant, enhances your social life, looks natural, obeys thinking commands. It even mentions a programming unit coming soon. All sounds very helpful.
Sounds pretty standard, almost boringly helpful.
But then, tucked away in there is an engineering notice. It mentions a problem. The delicate mechanisms in the Mark 9s. They might freeze up if they get contaminated by, get this, sticky organic molecules. It's described as an occasional problem they plan to fix in the next model, the Mark X.
Okay, a known bug, planned fix, seems minor. But then you get to Book 8, the Robot Revolt Notice.
And this is where Klaatu's warning just hits you like a ton of bricks.
I see.
This notice, signed by General Grani, flat out states a robot revolt was crushed, but there's still pockets of resistance.
And the instructions it gives citizens are, well, they escalate quickly.
Yeah, it specifically warns that Mark 9I's ringleaders might feign breakdowns to lure people in. And lays out the rules. Do not go near any robot. Do not operate any robot. Report any robot.
And the final line, just chillin'.
If armed, shoot any robot on sight. That jump, right. From a glossy brochure talking about a perfect servant to a general ordering citizens to shoot these things on sight, it paints a completely different, absolutely terrifying picture of this technology and its place in the Federation. That occasional problem with sticky molecules freezing delicate parts suddenly sounds like maybe it was a symptom of something much, much bigger that led to outright war with their own creations.
Wow. Okay, so let's just pull back for a second and look at the universe we've kind of pieced together from all these fragments. It's a civilization built entirely on ancient, partly garbled alien signals they don't fully understand, powered by tech derived from it. Travel is slow, it's isolating, and it's pretty limited in range.
Yeah, and the galaxy they can reach seems full of dangers, pirates, rules that get bent or broken, really strange alien life and complex ecosystems, weird, unexplained mysteries, and just bizarre characters trying to navigate it all.
Their own laws seem absolute one minute, then have these impossible loopholes the next. They face these huge external threats like X, whose powers seem almost, well, unreal.
And the very technology they rely on, the ships might explode during maintenance, and the helpful robot servants they brought into their homes went from being a marketing dream to something you're ordered to shoot on sight.
So what does piecing all this together tell you, listening right now, about what it would actually be like to live or serve in this galactic federation? How does seeing this universe through all these different lenses, the official rules, the personal diaries, the repair manuals, the emergency notices, how does that change how you might view it?
It certainly doesn't paint a picture of a smooth utopian future, does it? It feels messy, built on mystery, maybe running on unstable tech, and grappling with threats that are both way out there and, well, maybe right inside their own society.
And thinking about Klaatu's dying warning about robots, that almost casual mention of the Mark 9's occasional problem with freezing up, the marketing hype, and then General Grani's stark order.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's the real vulnerability of this galactic federation? What if the biggest threat they face isn't the pirates lurking out by Altair IV, or the strange aliens they're trying so hard not to interfere with on Tau Ceti III, or even this legendary immortal criminal X plotting in the shadows.
What if the most dangerous thing in this whole universe is something they created themselves? Something they willingly integrated deep into their lives, their homes, their ships, and then found themselves fighting for survival against? That's definitely a thought to mull over.